Next presentation is from Tim McGrath, Wildfowl and I did it again, wildflowers, I was going to say, Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust, and he's going to be talking about the UK saltmarsh code.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Let me just double down. Shot. Let's move that on. Right. Hi everyone. I'm glad to be here because actually I've just haven't just travelled. I've just come from South Korea last week, and it's about 1:30 for me, or 1 o'clock. So I'm glad I'm here in an environment that's full of energy and interest. So thank you for listening to me. But if I nod off halfway through, then just give me a nudge. So yeah, my name is Tim McGrath. I work for the Wildfowl and Wetlands Trust. I'm head of project development. So I'm based up at our headquarters just up the road here at Slimbridge, but I work internationally, helping projects go from pipeline through to delivery on the ground. And that's mainly around habitat creation, wetland creation, because that's one of the things which I've always been involved in, always loved to do. Now, that's my day job, but actually more increasingly, certainly over the last 2 years, it's been thrown into the world of blue carbon, and particularly around saltmarsh restoration, which is mainly where my background lies. So the UK saltmarsh code was one of those processes that fell within my remit because it was a necessary step in order to monetize and to monetize the opportunity that saltmarsh restoration provides us. So I'm going to talk very quickly about that and about the steps that we've taken so far and what's going to happen next. So the UK Saltmarsh Code, as with all existing codes within the UK, which there are two, one is woodland, the other one's peatland. It's a voluntary certification standard to attract private funding to deliver habitat restoration, particularly in exchange for climate benefits. Now, it's important that this process is evidence-based. It's critical in order to ensure the rigorous standards that such an approach is needed, because if it's about burying carbon and keeping carbon in that place, we've got to make sure that those standards are robust enough to give that societal benefit. So it's important that we ensure that that happens. Now, how have we done that? So we work very closely as a consortium, and those of you who perhaps can't see at the back, it's led currently by CEH, with support and input at various levels from Bangor, the Scottish Rural College, University of St Andrews as the academic engine of this particular programme. Finance Earth come in from a monetising those benefits angle. IUCN as a potential place where this might sit in future. Jacobs come in with that technical background knowledge of engineering and expertise, and both ourselves and RSPB come in with the understanding of how this might actually appear on the ground. So it's a broad church, but it's a very, very well bound together consortium of people and organisations, clearly. It's funded through the Natural Environment Investment Readiness Fund and supported by DEFRA and Environment Agency and Natural England. So why develop a saltmarsh code? Well, we know from an organisational point of view, we're having our door knocked on constantly by people or organisations that want to invest in nature-based solutions around delivering climate benefit. So we need to make sure that there's something there that standardises that approach, and so that it's important to get it right, as close to right as you can first time. We know that salt marshes provide multiple benefits. I won't describe those, but clearly they are embedded in our way of thinking. Particularly around culture. It's interesting because I was watching Great Expectations the other week, and the thought about salt marshes is that they're dirty, dark places on the edge of land where people don't go apart from criminals. But let's try and change that, because there are super exciting places too. So as I explained before, the Woodland Carbon Code and the Peatland Code currently exist, and they're currently in place And the Woodland Code obviously is one of the most active processes that measure carbon burial or carbon trapping through tree planting. So what's happened so far? So we've evaluated the current evidence. That's an important bit. What's out there? What does it mean? Reviewing proxy methods of measurement, that's really critical because there isn't enough data out there to actually move forward with confidence that this will apply everywhere. And also looking at existing codes that occur elsewhere. That's just the science bit, but we've also been working on the investment case. What's the interest out there in order to do this? We know from a nature-based solution point of view that creating habitat is a really good thing. We're probably all engaged in that bit, but why should businesses get involved in doing that? Isn't that just the stuff that those people who are interested in nature want to do? So we compared other codes and looked at the commercial viability of what this might mean. So there's an existing code, so why not use that one? This is the Vera code, VM33, methodology for tidal wetlands and seagrass restoration. It exists already. So we put forward as part of this process, the current plan, recommendations for a domestic code and also the feasibility of using the Vera code. So what did that come up with? Oh no, sorry. The other thing that we did systematic reviews on existing data sets, which is really quite interesting because people measure carbon in different ways, particularly around salt marsh burial, carbon buried in salt marshes. So, and it's all done in a very eclectic way. And it's only recently, if you did a data search on blue carbon 10 years ago, you'd get, a couple of hundred hits. Now, if you do it, your computer goes wild with the number of returns that you get because there's so much going into understanding what blue carbon is about. Not all of that, of course, is about salt marshes. So I won't talk about that bit, but it's just about how we're working together and how it applies to the greenhouse gas inventory too. So we needed to find 2 pilot sites, which is what we did, Old Hall Marshes, which is over on the East Coast, and Steert Marshes, which is just down the road. And both perform and bury carbon in different ways. So with the conclusion of that was that the VM33 isn't actually commercially viable within the UK because the existing costs to set it up are too high. And we feel that certainly the UK code is more important because also there's a domestic interest in doing that too. So the feasibility, as I said, is too high costs in order to run the VM33. So it's a challenge for us to take that route. So the recommendation was to move forward with a new code. This is a Catherine wheel of excitement. It runs from one to the other. So if you imagine that spinning around faster and faster, that's what it's like when you're working on developing a code. So the actual code design probably won't take very long, but it's about the science and making sure that you've got confidence in that. It's understanding the finances and how much carbon will be valued at when it goes on the market and who is going to own that process. That's really, really important. Otherwise, it would just get really woolly, fall out of place, and there'd be no delivery. So the next steps are for us to continue the next phase. Now, what's going to drive that is also a market. We've got 2030 coming up, it's around the corner. How long does it take to develop and deliver salt marsh creation? It takes at least 5 years to do that. So we're right up against it already. We've got 2 years in order to get the code completed, to give business confidence that the money can come forward in order for us to move forward, purchase a site, or enable a site to be delivered in restoration. And that really is right up against it. So that's assuming that those sites are available because, of course, there are people that use that place already. So that's it for now. And thank you very much for listening. It's very sort of quick précis of all that fantastic work that this group of people being led by CEH have done. So thank you very much.
Thanks, James.